but we do not have a quorum yet, or do we?
Yes, everyone was here.
Oh, okay. Do you have signups for public comment?
Yes,
How many?
so far.
And we're live.
Good morning.
Good morning. This meeting is
Good morning.
to order. It is the regular,
I'm sleepy.
I think we're on
Mary
the,
Carol, I can't hear you, dear.
oh, well, you should. All right.
Can you hear me, Mark?
I can't hear
Rico.
anybody.
Yes.
Can you hear me? I can't hear anybody.
Okay, give me a second here. Hold on for just a second.
That's going to make it difficult.
Mariska, what was your number while we're waiting?
Yeah, I'm not hearing anybody.
Hey,
Okay, so what would need to happen, Mr. Wingate, is I'm gonna mute you, and then I want you to unmute yourself, and I want to see if we can hear you
Still
again.
can't hear anybody.
Okay, give me a second.
Hey,
Can you hear me? Can you hear us okay?
volume. Hang on a minute. Where's my volume? I don't have it. Where's my volume?
Just bear with us for a second.
I lost.
Okay, Mr. Okay, can you hear us? Okay, we can hear you. Bear with me for a second. Give me a second.
How about now?
I can hear you.
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
I'm still not hearing anybody.
Okay, give me a second. I'm doing this.
What in the world here? Where? Mute. Oh, that's... You can hear me, but I can't hear you. That's probably not a good thing.
Give me a
Where
second.
in the world is my volume control on this thing? I just used this the other day and it was fine.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let me see if I can help you out with this.
Yeah, it's all on. That's okay. Yeah, my settings are all set correctly. You can hear me, but I can't hear you. Well, you all got to go ahead. I mean, we can't delay this, but I can't really tell what's being stated.
Okay.
I'm texting Mr. Wingate to log out and come
Kathleen
back in.
already did that.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I've already logged out and come back in.
Well, wait a minute. Aren't you?
So can you hear me?
I don't see, where in the heck is my, Kathleen raised the issue of my volume control, and I don't, usually it's down here in the bottom, but I don't see it. Huh. Speakers are up. That's full blast. Oh,
Can you hear us now?
yes. But
Okay.
I've been lost.
And now you're found.
Yep, you're found now.
Now I can't see everybody.
Well, that's the least of your troubles. Let's see. Let us know when you are completely blind, deaf, and dumb, and if possible. But in the meantime, if it is simply not seeing us, let's try to get going because we have quite an agenda this morning. So taking that, yes, that hand wave as a go signal. This meeting is called to order. It is the regular November 13, 2020 meeting of the Fulton County Board of Registration and Elections. I am Mary Carol Cooney, chairperson, joined this morning by my colleagues, Ms. Verena Keith Newridden, Mr. Mark Wingate, Mr. Aaron Johnson, and Dr. Kathleen Ruth. Before we get started, I would like to place on the record the statement that this teleconference meeting is authorized pursuant to section 50-14-1G of the official code of Georgia because of the public health state of emergency declared by Governor Kemp on March 14th, 2020, and renewed most recently on October 30th concerning COVID-19 restrictions in public meetings, and because means have been afforded for the public to have simultaneous access to this teleconference. Ladies and gentlemen, you have in front of you an agenda. Please take a moment to review it, and when you have reviewed it, I will entertain a motion for additions, corrections, or approval.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve today's agenda.
Second.
We have an appropriate motion to approve the agenda and a second. All in favor say aye and raise your hands.
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson? Mr. Johnson?
He's on mute.
He is on mute, but he should hear us.
No, he looks still, his screen is frozen.
Maybe he's having the same problems I did.
Okay, well, we have a majority to approve. There we have him. Thank you. To approve the agenda. When you see hands waving wildly at you, they may be directed at you, and we will try to get you together with us again. The first item on, or the second item on our agenda following approval of the agenda is for communications and responses from the public. Ms. Bodison, do we have any members of the public wishing to be heard?
Yes, Madam Chair.
How many?
8.
We have 8 members of the public wishing to be heard. I would like to state for the record that this board is under a statutory deadline to meet today, which is going to be difficult for us to meet and to take our full cooperation. So we are going to need to be very strict about the 2-minute limitation on speakers, and that we be restricted to those speakers who have registered prior to the start of the meeting as stated on our public documents. And having said that, Ms. Bodison, who is the first member of the public wishing to be heard?
Garland Favorito.
Mr. Favorito. Mr. Favorito, you are muted now.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you hear me now?
I can.
Madam Chair, I'm Garland Favorito, a career information technology professional, co-founder of Voter GA, which stands for Voters Organized for Trusted Election Results in Georgia. On November 5th, I witnessed an interim election result upload from Fulton County to the Office of the Secretary of State. It showed the November 3rd general election totals for former Vice President Joe Biden increasing by 20,000 votes, while President Trump's totals appeared to have decreased by 1,000 votes. On that evening of November 5th, I notified in writing all members of the election board, the county elections director, and the county attorney about this irregularity. I also made an open records request for interim election results files that were transmitted to the Secretary of State. These would have allowed the interim results results to be reconstructed so an analysis could determine if there were other irregularities, such as this one, during the post-election day mail-in ballot processing. I received no response written in writing from anyone in the county. I sent you my affidavit that explains such an irregularity would likely result from malware in the tabulator, improperly harvested ballots, or a ballot definition mismatch. Georgia uses similar Dominion Democracy Suite 5.5 software that is nearly identical to that used in Antrim County, Michigan, where 6,000 votes were erroneously swapped from Trump to Biden. Officials there ordered a hand count of all ballots to correct the error before certification. You intend to certify Fulton results today, knowing that this irregularity and perhaps more irregularities exist. That does not speak well of anyone involved in Fulton County elections. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Favorito. Who is our next speaker, Ms. Bodison?
Eileen Nakamura.
Ms. Nakamura, welcome. And please unmute. Yes.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Good morning. I'm Eileen Nakamura, a voter from Sandy Springs. Just over a year ago, I observed my first election using the new Dominion voting system during the pilot programs in Bartow and Paulding counties. I also observed elections in Cobb, which piloted the use of hand-marked paper ballots, which are what the vast majority of American voters use, and they're what every preeminent election integrity and cybersecurity expert agrees is the gold standard in election security. Coalition for Good Governance's volunteers and experts have spent over 750 hours as poll watchers, observers, and inspectors, carefully documenting issues we've witnessed as well as those that other voters have experienced. Now, after a year during which the country has sadly come to see Georgia as the poster child for how not to run elections, I would be the first to defend Georgia's hardworking election officials, staff, and poll workers. Rather, just as CGG has warned over and over again, the Secretary of State's unreasonably ambitious plan to implement this overly complex, resource-hogging, and expensive system in such a short period of time was truly a mission impossible. Even with all of the money that Fulton has bet, $38 million, the machines still break down, poll pads still malfunction, and the giant BMDs still don't provide absolute ballot secrecy. And last but not least, the BMD printouts are still not auditable. Why? Because of the simple fact that I've personally witnessed over and over. Most voters do not check their printouts for accuracy. And now we're about to embark on a total hand count audit of the presidential race. Thankfully, almost half the ballots were cast on absentee paper ballots, so the voters' intent should be clear on those ballots. But it's very likely that the numbers you are certifying today and the hand count results will not reconcile, for the simple reason that the voting system is far too complex and glitchy. And there are too many points at which a programming error, machine malfunction, printer error, or scanner problem could have produced unintended consequences on the paper printouts. When an overall buggy system has many complex parts, it's impossible to know what caused the problem, and a hand count will only reveal the problem, not the cause. It's time to simplify the system so voters can finally trust the results. The January Senate runoff will be the perfect opportunity to try ditching the BMDs, printers, and UPSs, and just use paper ballots with the scanners. Not only will this be much easier and faster for voters, it'll be far cheaper too, and you as a board have the authority to make that decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nakamura. Ms. Bodison, who wishes to speak next?
Ms. Rhonda Martin.
Mr. DeMartin or Ms.?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi. Good morning. My name is Rhonda Martin. I'm a Fulton County voter and a board member of the Coalition for Good Governance. First of all, I second everything Eileen Nakamura just said. Switching over to hand-marked paper ballots for January for the simplicity and efficiency would be a fantastic move by Fulton County. But here's what I had planned to say. Back in August, I gave you my Christmas list, my wishes for the November election. Today, I'd like to look back and see if my wishes came true. First thing I asked for was an efficient portal to use to request my absentee ballot. Got it. I will admit I used the Secretary of State's portal, but the fact of the matter is I received my absentee ballot, no problems. And that was an improvement over past tries to getting an absentee ballot. I also didn't hear a lot of problems from other people not receiving their ballots. So congratulations, that's just fantastic. There were issues with the statuses being reflected on the My Voter pages. I don't know where the issues came from, but there were problems there that made voters quite nervous. The other thing I asked for were drop boxes being distributed in obvious and convenient locations. Again, Fulton County went over the top and did a fantastic job with the drop boxes. I think more of them need to be available at actual polling places where people would expect them. But I did find them at my polling place. But I would like the whole county to be able to benefit from this. And I hope you'll continue and expand this practice in the future. The next thing was scanners being configured to reliably count every vote that a human would count. And I know there was progress along those lines. During adjudication, I wanted vote review panels to be encouraged to consult the original paper ballots. Status unknown on that, but here we are. Who would have guessed we'd be doing a complete hand count of everything? I also asked that ballots being hand duplicated be able to be traced back to the original. Again, I don't know the status of that in Fulton County. Anyway, I just want to congratulate you all on the remarkable improvements that came into effect before November. I think everyone was shocked at how well it went, and I'm just so thrilled for the work you've done and so thankful. Looking forward, please prepare to operate without technology. Look at what happens when the technology fails, and just be ready. Training on how to use emergency paper ballots if you won't switch over to hand mark, that is a huge need, because people, even though they're there, the poll managers just don't know what to do. So please focus your efforts on what to do if the technology disappears, because that happens. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Ms. Bodison, who wishes to speak next?
Senator Vincent Ford.
Senator Fort, good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. I am speaking this morning about a concern that I voiced to you on November 3rd about the election in 39th District. At that time, I said, and I will repeat, that I believe that the Secretary of State's mandate, from what I understand, a mandate to require poll workers to ask people if they wanted to vote in the District 39 special primary election, or for voters to request it, tainted that race, tainted that election. Even on after several weeks of discussion about this in the retraining of poll workers, it continued that people were not being asked. People didn't know about the election. I believe it's voter suppression. I believe that election is tainted. I put some of the blame, most of the blame, on the Secretary of State, but at the same time, I'm very concerned that Fulton County elections did not inform all campaigns about this situation. It was robustly discussed. There was an exchange of discussion between the Board of Elections and the Secretary of State. But the Fort campaign and one of the other campaigns, as I understand it, only found out about this on Monday, the first day of the early voting. I am very, very concerned that there were people on the Board of Elections that informed other campaigns about this situation. And that's why at the last meeting, I asked the Board of Elections, for those reasons, what the Secretary of State did and what the Board of Elections and Fulton County Elections did. I'm asking this board to do an independent investigation, have an independent investigation, if necessary by the county attorney or a third party, as to how this situation occurred. Did people on the board know about this fiasco? Were certain campaigns informed? because I know for a fact that there were two campaigns who had either said they were informed or made it clear that they were informed about this debacle. If there were members of the Board of Elections that knew about this and communicated it to other campaigns, they should tell us today, right now. Because there's something, like my daddy used to say, something rotten in the cotton. So I'm asking this board to do one, independent investigation, and two, I'm asking this board to not certify today, not certify the results of the 39th State Senate primary special election. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Fort. Next speaker, Ms. Bodison.
Mila, of course.
I don't recognize that name, but now I do. Ms. Chorus.
Thank you. I attended my first board meeting after the November 2018 midterm election. I came with concerns and questions based on my lived experiences in the neighborhoods that surround my home in Castleberry Hill. Since then, I've tried to attend every meeting I could, given my work schedule, learned about our new voting system, and did research drawing from elections integrity experts across the nation. When June's elections made national headlines yet again, I rolled up my sleeves and worked as a poll worker in the August runoff. For the November 3rd election, I took more than a month off work as a Delta Airlines instructor and worked early voting and on election day. I studied and learned as much as I could, drawing from all the resources available both inside and outside Fulton County. After the election, I also worked in the warehouse, sorting the massive amounts of paperwork for which we are accountable to the Secretary of State. During this month-long firsthand glimpse into the inner workings of elections, I saw great need for hand-marked paper ballots, logistical restructuring, streamlining, and process improvements, and the adoption of standard operating procedures to prevent the shortfalls in auditing and reporting, as well as enhanced poll worker training and voter education. My experience designing curriculum and training airline personnel in procedural compliance uniquely qualifies me to speak to the inadequacies of Fulton County poll worker training, and especially the disparities between Happy Faces employees and Fulton County employees. I recommend an overhaul of the siloed training model and the reconsideration of the use of outside agencies like Happy Faces to run early voting. My goal is to improve elections for every Fulton County voter and stem voter suppression, be it intentional or unintentional. I hope every elections employee, director, and members of the board will take the time to listen to my concerns and invite me to work on solutions with fresh eyes and a well-rounded inside view. I've got some to offer. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sakouras. Ms. Bodison, anyone else wanting to be heard?
Yes, Madam Chair. Marilyn Marks.
Yes.
Ms. Marks.
Hello, this is Marilyn Marks. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Good morning.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. I'm Marilyn Marks. I am the Executive Director of Coalition for Good Governance. I want to underscore everything that Ms. Martin has said about the compliments that should go to the Fulton Board of Elections and the staff for the incredible work under the most difficult of conditions, and particularly the voter outreach that you all engaged in. I've never seen anything like it in my 12 years of doing this, and great compliments are due. I would say, just as Ms. Nakamura said, the system is still, because of what the Secretary of State forced this county to work with, it is still far too complex, far too expensive, and too glitchy and too buggy. It is impossible to get right, and Fulton will continue to remain the scapegoat of the Secretary of State, because no one was ever going to be able to make this system work right, and Fulton will get the blame. I urge you to use your authority to go to hand-marked paper ballots. But I want to mention something that I'm particularly concerned about in the very short term. You all are about to embark on an impossible mission with this hand count that you're to start tomorrow morning. And I urge you to pull back and talk to your attorneys at great length about whether or not this is an appropriate action to engage in. I know you've been ordered to by the Secretary. I personally do not believe he has the authority to order a hand count and consider it a recount where you would actually change the tallies, which he is asking you to do. I don't think he has authority under the law, and I don't think Fulton County has authority to go through this process and then change the official tallies. For me personally, it will help us greatly in gathering evidence. But this really needs to be about whether Fulton should go through this miserable exercise that you're about to, and whether it is the right thing to do, because the secretary doesn't have the authority to order this hand recount, which is what he's calling it. Yes, he can order a hand count audit, but not a recount. And what I fear is that the candidate, the losing candidate, will come back at the conclusion of that hand recount and then ask for a real recount done by machines after the certification. So I just caution you on that, and I would urge you to ask the Attorney General for an opinion as to whether or not this is an appropriate exercise for the county board. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Ms. Marks. Ms. Bodison?
Madam Chair, that would conclude public comment.
Thank you all. Everybody adhered to our tight schedule, and I appreciate that. That will move us.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Mr. Howard just raised his hand. He did not at the beginning of the meeting, and two other speakers. That would amount to the amount that I told you that I had, which is about 8. So if you will indulge these two individuals.
Let me glance at my fellow board members. Apparently, we will not go over our stated amount, and I see some nods. Yes, so let us go on. Who's next?
Hillary Lee.
Ms. Lee?
Hello, thank you for the opportunity to speak. Can you hear me okay?
I would like you to speak a little bit louder.
Okay, how about that?
That's fine.
Okay, great. Good morning. My name is Hillary Lee, and I'm an attorney with Asian Americans Advancing Justice, Atlanta. Thank you all so much for your work on the recent election. On November 3rd, our office ran a nonpartisan poll monitoring and interpretation program. We monitored 10 polling places in Fulton, and I just want to share today how the board can address some of the main issues we saw. One of the biggest problems our poll monitors faced was confusion and hostility from poll managers about their ability to be present outside the polling place and speak to voters. I was at Findlay Oaks Elementary, where the poll manager, Cindy Lifsey, intensely resisted our presence nearly the entire day until Fulton elections representatives came and spoke with her. She would not allow our volunteer interpreters to help limited English proficient, or LEP, voters, and made disparaging comments about those voters, including that Americans should speak English and that LEP voters are easily influenced. We asked that the board immediately remove Ms. Lifsey as poll manager, address her comments, and ensure that future poll worker trainings emphasize both the rights of poll monitors and the rights of voters to language assistance. This is particularly important if the county continues to decline to make elections more accessible to LEP voters by, for example, providing sample ballots in other languages. Next, we observed voters being incorrectly told to cast a provisional ballot. 1, if they wanted to cancel their absentee ballots and vote in person, and 2, if they were registered in another county. Both are incorrect, but the latter is particularly problematic. When voters registered in another county cast provisional ballots in Fulton, they leave the polling place thinking their vote will count, when it will not. In this election, there were 673 provisional ballots cast in Fulton not counted for this reason. We ask that the board improve poll worker trainings on the use of provisional ballots as well. Finally, I want to highlight the importance of ensuring enough absentee ballot drop boxes around Fulton for the runoffs, as a couple other people have mentioned. These drop boxes were instrumental this past election, providing a safe option for voting during the worsening COVID-19 pandemic and accounting for concerns around the reliability of the mail. We ask the board to please maintain or increase the number of drop boxes in the county and inform voters of the locations and details through a mailing. Thank you so much, and let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. Ms. Bodison. Let's see, I see Mr. Ben Howard. Mr. Howard.
Thank you. Greetings, board members and staff, and special greetings to you citizens who also have tuned in. Ben Howard, Senior Advocate, Public Policy Analyst. I would like to see a statement developed and made available to the media and the public clarifying 3 particular points. Point 1, because the statewide hand count is optional and only becomes mandatory under certain circumstances, and because certain entities are using it for political gain and fundraising, it needs to be made clear exactly who and what were the instigating factors for such a comprehensive and expensive effort. Point 2, there needs to be a step-by-step explanation of the absentee ballot process, the provisional ballot process, and the ballot curing processes. Point 3, signage informing that persons 75 years of age and older may move to the front of the line between 9:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. needs to be posted outside the polling places as well as inside. In conclusion, please permit me to tack on a personal preference that at least one poll worker's manual be visible and preferably open at each precinct. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Ms. Bodison?
Madam Chair, that will conclude public comment.
Well, thank you. And thank you to all our speakers for adhering to our strict rules this morning. That brings us to item number 3 on our agenda, which is the approval of minutes. These have been previously distributed to board members. They are for a special meeting of October 6, 2020, an executive session on October 6, 2020, a regular meeting on October 8th, 2020, and a special meeting on October 23rd, 2020. I can entertain a motion for the approval of all 4 of those, and any board member who wishes to remove one of those for special discussion, if necessary, but I will entertain a motion for all, or in order of those minutes.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve all 4 of these meetings.
Second.
Vote.
Properly moved and seconded to approve the minutes of October 6th, executive session October 6th, October 8th, and October 23rd. Any discussion, Mr. Wingate?
Oh, sorry. I'm raising my hand too.
Right, we'll get it.
Getting accustomed.
Any further discussion? No, all in favor? Start off by Mr. Wingate. Aye.
Aye.
All hands raised. All hands are raised, Ms. Bodison. All right, that concludes item 3 on our agenda. Item 4 is the monthly operations report for October 2020. That was updated yesterday and will be available to our observers immediately following this. Mr. Barron, would you lead us through that once you unmute yourself?
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
As you know, I'll go through the Elections Division report. As you know, we had an election on November 3rd. We had 30 permanent early voting sites. We had our 2 mobile voting precincts, the buses, which turned out to be a great success. And then we also used 7 outreach polling sites. We processed more than almost 316,838 people through early voting for November. We are already preparing for the December 1st election. Early voting began on Monday, and we have so far had 808 people vote early at the 7 locations that we have open. Currently, Buckhead Library, College Park Library, C.T. Martin, Cascade Library, Northwest Branch Library, Ponce Library, and Metropolitan Library. So right now it's the Congressional District 5 election. That is a special election. Rollover ballots for special elections are not mailed out. we will be adding an election later this month for Senate District 39. In the Senate District 39 race, we've received the database now to proof that, to get the database set so that we can begin logic and accuracy testing and also get the ballots ordered for that election. The distinction, I guess the big distinction for this December 1st election that we're preparing for is that in this Congressional District 5 election will be on one database. The Senate District 39 special election will be on a separate database. Right now, we have early voting set to begin for Senate District 39 from Monday, November 23rd to Wednesday, November 25th. Now, in addition to those 7 sites that I just mentioned to you, we were going to add Adams Park Library, East Point Library, and Gladys Denard Library at South Fulton. In addition to those 7, so we would have 10 early voting locations open in the 3rd week of early voting. And early voting ends on Wednesday, November 25th, the day before Thanksgiving. And the election is the following week on December 1st. The Senate District 39 race, voters are going to have to check in twice. Any voter that has already voted early that lives in Senate District 39 will have to return to vote in Senate District 30. If they voted early for Congressional District 5, but they also live in Senate District 39, they would have to return to their polling place on election day, or they have to go vote early in one of the 10 locations, November 23rd to November 25th. There will be 2 sets of machines in any of the precincts that are overlapping with Congressional District 5 and Senate District 39. We will have 2 sets of machines, 2 different check-ins. Voters will have to check in twice in order to run this election, because they're actually being conducted as 2 separate elections, and many of the precincts overlap. So that complicates the election on that day. Now, we have to send out because Democratic primary for Senate District 39, that runoff, is not a special election. We will have to send out rollover ballots for that. We are working with a vendor right now to get the rollover ballots sent out for Senate District 39, and then after that initial mailing is sent, then we will do the rest. Because the ballots are going to go out rather late, the chances of getting ballots back, I would suggest that any voter that gets a rollover ballot should deposit it in a drop box. It's going to be difficult for us to get them into the mail, for voters to get them and mail them back. So the drop boxes are going to be the best method to return those ballots to us. And I believe that is it and then I can take questions on this afterwards, but I think that's all I wanted to cover with Senate District 39 and CD5 for now. We have, I think in the operations report, Dream was able to negotiate and acquire an auxiliary warehouse for us in Hapeville because of the amount of equipment that we have now, and with the pandemic and needing to spread out. We've got 2 warehouses now, one in Hapeville and one on English Street. However, we are going to move all of the equipment to Georgia World Congress Center and process all logic and accuracy testing from there between now and the end, through the January election. The bandwidth challenges at the EPC to load the poll pads we've basically been able to handle that. Adding the cash box, the Meraki access points, upgrading the bandwidth out at the EPC appears to have virtually eliminated those bandwidth issues out there. So that was good news. I think the one thing that I made a decision towards the end of early voting, and I should have probably made it earlier, to reallocate poll pads. We looked at all the numbers. We saw where people had voted early. We saw where people were most likely to vote, or where there were potential voters for election day. So I reallocated poll pads to different precincts to accommodate a greater turnout in certain precincts. And that complicated our poll pad. That was the one thing that complicated the poll pad. If I had known how complicated that was going to be, I would have made that decision a week before to prepare for it. With regard to the administration division, we have new personnel positions that have been approved by the county, which we're going to begin to fill. We're going to get a deputy registration elections director, elections officer, voter education and outreach coordinator, and an election system assistant supervisor. We will fill those hopefully before the January election, or we're at least going to get them posted and try to get those in process. We are also working with the county for the 2021 budget preparation on many things that the department is going to need going forward, including more space. Especially, we definitely need a space. Especially what we've seen this year, where we can have our call center, our training center, our warehouse, all of this in one big, large location where we can have, and the absentee ballot as well, where we can have all of that in one facility where we can get a linear workflow and make it easier to do things, because we've been spread out over 8 different locations this election, and it became, it was one of the big challenges we had was managing all of those different sites with the number of managers that we have. And it became a stretch to manage 8 different locations with our current staff as it is set. One of the things I've also talked to the county about doing is to pay for a top to bottom review to get a vendor in here, perhaps someone similar or maybe even elections group or National Vote at Home, somebody along those lines that can come in and look at all of our processes going into next year and do a process analysis and review and then implementation, so that by the time we get to the mayoral election next year for the city of Atlanta and the other municipal elections, that all of that will be implemented and ready to go. I think this pandemic has really shown us that we have many things to work on. It's been a challenge to manage this year, and but the county's been very supportive throughout it. And I think that without all of the help that we received from all the different departments in the county, we would not have been able to have the election. We would not have been able to pull off the election in November that we did with relatively few issues. You can see that on the administrative division report that the voter education team has still been doing some in-person and virtual demos. They were busy with those. With regard to voter registration, we have processed 270,025 voter registration applications this year. And just to show you how big, though, the absentee ballot operation is now, we processed, I wrote this down, 260,070 absentee by mail applications for this election, for the November election. almost as many voter registration applications that we received for the entire year. So that the absentee ballot area needs to be turned into its own entity, because it is as big now as the voter registration division is. We need to pull that out of there and make it its own separate division. We currently have 808,680 active voters in Fulton County and 39,314 inactive. That ratio of active to inactive is the best we've ever seen. A lot of it is due to the DDS and also online voter registration, making it easy for voters to change their addresses into the voter registration system. This is our highest voter registration totals ever, and that's our lowest inactive total this century, as far as I've seen back in the records. So, and we did send out 790 letters to voters who are suspected felons. We issued 82 TVICs. We are going to mail out the initial ballots for the January 5th U.S. Senate runoff. Runbeck will mail out that initial batch for everyone in the state on November 20th. And we still have our call centers in operation, and those have been a great benefit to us throughout this whole election, to add those 3 additional spaces that we are using for call centers. And from there, I can take any questions on the monthly up. Well, and also, I guess I need to add that we are preparing for what is a full hand tally of the presidential race. That will begin tomorrow at Georgia World Congress Center, and we will have it'll be a full manual tally of all the ballots. The deadline for completion is Wednesday at midnight. The state sent us numbers that said if we had 248 two-person teams, we could finish the recount in 8 hours. What we've done is put together 125 two-person teams with the goal of completing this by Monday. It is open to, there will be a designated public viewing area. It's open to observation. We will be live streaming it as well. I think I sent the board a text this morning with the pictures that show how the live stream is going to stream from Georgia World Congress Center. There will be a media area there as well. One thing that will happen is the political parties, and Dwight has been in touch with them, the Fulton County Republicans, the Fulton County Democratic parties. We can have 1 designated monitor per party for each of the 10 audit. There's 1 monitor allowed per 10 audit boards. We will have 125 audit boards, so that'll be 12 monitors per party to cover that area. They will not be able to take photos or record. They can't touch the ballots. They can't interfere in the count. They are just there to monitor what's happening. We will have these audit boards will have 2 people sitting at each one of them. There will be a vote review panels there to look at different types of ballots that could go to them. And we will have security there at all times on the ballots. Of course, I said before, we're auditing the vote for president. We'll have nothing on the tables except the designated items. The way the audit board will work is that it will get a batch of ballots, and it will sort the ballots according to votes for Trump, Biden, Jorgensen, overvoted ballots, and blank and undervoted. There will also be other categories in which the ballots can be sorted, whether there's duplicates, write-ins, undecided, to the vote review panels to make decisions on. They will review, for example, the qualified write-in candidates. And then they will also look at they will be looking for voter intent on any ballots where there is a question on voter intent. And with regard to that, we will be operating 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Georgia World Congress. There are chances that it could go past 5 because every audit board needs to be able to complete its batch before it leaves. And the batches vary in sizes. A lot of the batches that are in early voting can be up to 3,500 ballots. I think the smallest ballot that Ralph has, I believe he said, was 34 ballots, and in absentee and provisional. And then the rest of the early voting ballots have the largest batches. Other than that, I can now take questions.
And let me first turn to Mr. Wingate.
Yes, Director, good morning again. A couple of quick things. This is regarding the operations report for October. The report indicates, and I think you stated the number, 847,994 active and inactive voters on our current registration list.
Yes.
If you look at the official and complete election summary report for the general primary nonpartisan general election, November the 3rd, we're showing, or this report reflects 806,451 registered voters. So there is a discrepancy there.
Those are two different dates those are captured on. Yeah, this was as of October 31st, and what you see on the report that's on the unofficial and complete results, that was everything that was timely as of October 5th. So we still are processing voter registration applications. That's why the numbers are different.
Okay.
We capture that. The number that's captured for the results report is what is eligible for that election. But we've been entering voter registration applications since then.
Understand. So what you're saying is, if I'm understanding this correctly, which maybe I'm not, is that as of your October report, it is making a statement that as of November the 1st, the 847,994 was the registered voters.
Yeah, but yes.
So how can that be different then, Rick, in terms of then for a November the 3rd election date that I've got that variance?
Because when you have, so on November 1st, we had 808,680 active voters. As of October 5th, that is the 806,451 is everyone that was eligible to vote in that election as of October 5th. That's what's on the results report. We don't, once the timely applications are processed for the voter registration deadline in October, that's what goes into the server for the election.
All right, let me
the voter registration totals, because those are the eligible voters for the November 3rd election. The report for
so what you're saying is that then that difference, just so it's very easy and clear to understand, what you're stating is then that difference is how many new registered voters you put into the list from that October the 5th date until you reported this as of November the 1st?
Yes. Yes. Okay. And we only put in the active voters into the system for results too.
Okay. All right. Okay, good. So everybody in the audience can make sure that that's clear, because that's certainly something that can come up. Let me very quickly proceed. We'd asked on a couple of occasions and received the precinct report that breaks down then all the active, inactive voters. We got a report back on October the 5th, first time we had got it for this election. And that report was dated September the 25th, 2020. And I think maybe Dr. Ruth, we requested that we get an update because we were not seeing the footed numbers in terms of the vote total counts, as it's stated here, total of all precincts as of that report, which was again sent back to us, Rick, by you on October the 28th. But that's only showing 709,071 actives and 39,642 inactive. So
which
again,
report is this?
This is the precinct. It's precinct locator by precinct and summary counts active and inactive voters. Remember, I'd asked you on a couple of occasions. I said, get us the precinct reports because, I for one, I like to scan through that and make a determination by some precincts that I have some interest in, what the counts are. So this is what Mariska sent us on October the 5th. And I asked because I saw variances in what was being reported in terms of the active, inactive voter list. And it was resent by you, and I got it back from you again on October the 28th. And it was the same list was sent back to us. And that reflects the 7,009,071 and the 39,642. And I'm not arguing that, but again, for all of us, in trying to manage this, what's right? That's my question on it as it relates to that. So it's not something we have to answer today, but if we can just get that looked at.
Let me, I'll have Mariska pull that report because I don't know which one. I need to look at it.
Kathleen, I spoke to you about this, and am I reflecting correctly what it is that we both looked at?
Yes, you are. Yeah.
All right. Now,
And
okay,
this
so
what's the
I'll
name
leave
of
that
the
with you.
report?
Here's my last comment, or last two comments on that, and I'll get off the stage. Let me point out something that came to my mind that was of thought. Let's use right now that as of the November 1st date that the 847,994 number was reported. If you use that number and compare it to what the Atlanta Regional Commission reports in terms of total population for Fulton County, Georgia, is 1,049,470 people.
Mm-hmm.
That means to me that roughly 80% of our entire population are registered voters. Now I don't have the statistics to disprove that, but I think at least in my mind, that doesn't make any sense.
But Rick, wouldn't that make sense? Because when you update your driver's license, if you include registered voters, groups that register voters, and then the DMV, couldn't that account for, because now people are automatically registered to vote that are eligible, that are over 18, correct?
Anyone that gets a driver's license anyone that can go to DMV, right, and gets a driver's license is automatically registered. You have to opt out. And
well,
then
not if they're 16 years old.
Or yes, 18. They have to be 18, but anybody that's 18 and older is going to get.
Yeah, I don't believe that's. I think to me, and again, this is just something to be researched in time. But to me, having 80% of the entire Fulton County population as registered voters just doesn't make any sense to me.
Does it count when you get an ID as well?
Those are active. Oh, like a Georgia.
When you go to the DMV and this is just a question to follow up with Mr. Wingate, but do you get registered when you get an ID as well?
I would imagine so. If you aren't applying for a driver's license, but you're just applying to get an ID, that should be included in there.
Well, Mr. Johnson, I think that you raise a good point, but what that could potentially mean is that there's a hell of a lot of double counting going on. I mean, you're not going to be registered to vote if you get a driver's license and a Georgia ID, either at the same time or separately. That should be manifested in the updates, I would hope. I'm just saying, I don't have the data to argue. I'm just saying at the top level of this. I just question the fact that we've got 80% of the Fulton County general population are registered to vote. And that would mean functionally that everybody that was, that was eligible to, that's 80% of every person, man, woman, and child that we have in this county that has registered to vote and are on our current voter logs.
I think
just something to look at. Something to look at.
The best number to look at is, rather than the overall population, is probably the voting age population, which I believe, I think I remember seeing 3 or 4 years ago that at some point we had about 92, 93% of the voting age population was registered.
Yeah, Rick, I don't disagree with that. And you know what? Yes, when you start drilling down into this, I would hope that, somebody that would work with this would certainly look at that. All I'm saying is at the top line, what this indicates is that 80% of the population should be over 18 and has then in fact registered to vote. That's all that this statistic tells somebody like me. And it's just pure math. But you're right. There's clearly, I think from that, to me, and the reason I bring this up is there's clear reason to in fact have somebody that has that kind of capability to really drill down on this and find out what's going on there.
Yeah, and I just want to add, as we're talking about the voter registration. So just for clarity, Rick, October 1st, there were 838,000 active and inactive voters in the last monthly report. And then you're saying that this, if we're looking at the election summary results, that total is 806,451.
We only put active voters in there. That's in Georgia. You only use active voters in the results.
Okay, so the active voters,
yes,
from the October 1st is 796,000, and so this result includes the 806 is all the way up to, it stops at October 5th. Which is the last day of registration.
Anything that we received timely for October 5th, yes, that was processed.
Okay.
But nothing later than?
No.
Okay.
Dr. Ruth, have you?
That's it on that. I'll give it back. I think Mark may have had some other comment.
One last thing, just for, the purposes of the monthly operations report for October 2020. If you look at the statistical numbers and updates, for some reason that is labeled September. Is that just a mistake?
Yes.
Okay. Just to make note for the record that the report indicates these are September statistics, not October, as to what this report is supposed to be for.
Okay, as someone who in other aspects of my life uses 1 month's report as the template for the next, I understand how that happens, but let's make sure that when we file our reports for our records that we get that straight. Okay, other questions? Dr. Ruth, you want to conclude yours?
Yes, so I had a question about the absentee ballot count spreadsheet. So this is related to the application specifically, Rick. So how do you reconcile the duplicate applications? Can you talk about that process? There's a column that has the SOS duplications, and then there's another column that has just duplicate.
Okay, so the duplicates are when somebody submits an application more than once. What happened a lot is somebody would get a third-party application in the mail. A lot of third parties mailed out paper applications. And then when the Secretary of State announced that they had their portal, they had already submitted an application by paper, and then they went on and applied through the portal. Or they had already applied by the portal, and then they got a paper application in the mail. All those are all duplicate submissions by voters. So
Okay.
when somebody was doing data entry, they went in, they had the application, they looked and saw that there had already been a request made. So we were just tracking how many duplicate applications that we process.
Okay. And as far as the absentee ballots by mail, so you have the spreadsheet that had the Dropbox Excel spreadsheet. There are 2 columns at the end that have duplicate numbers. So I'm assuming that one column, the duplicate is the actual absentee ballots. But it should be, one should have ballots and one should have the applications.
Which spreadsheet is this?
This is the absentee ballot Dropbox Excel spreadsheet. Within each of the drop boxes, there are 2 columns for each drop box. One that shows the applications, because in the drop box, just for everyone's consumption, a voter can put their application in the drop box as well as their ballot.
Right.
And
yeah,
so
we were accepting voter register. I mean, we were taking voter registration applications through that too. But yeah, absentee applications and absentee ballots were going into the drop boxes.
Okay, and at the end of that spreadsheet, though, the totals, there are duplicate totals there. I'm assuming that given the pattern.
You mean at the very end, there are 2 columns and they have the same numbers next to them?
Right, so one should be valid.
I think the one on the far right, if you look, there are no formulas in there, and I believe that was typed in order to be able to just copy those. Those were used to copy into the absentee processing. It was used to copy into another spreadsheet, because you can't, if you just copy those values on the column that's on the left, on there's two that are the same, the formulas come with it. So
sorry, you may not have heard me.
On another formula. That's the only reason that other one's there.
Okay, but there were 75,000 ballots in the Dropbox.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
All right, that does conclude your
question. Well, then my last question is, one of the things that we did ask for was.
And we can't hear you now.
And we did not receive that. The number of absentee ballots.
Would you repeat?
Yeah, the number of absentee ballots that had been cured.
Is Ralph on here? Hold on, I've got. I think that's the only number that I don't have. Ralph.
We had 86. We had 86 cured ballots. It's my last count from Ross. We had 86 of them who were cured by way of rectifying the signatures or had to sign the back of their ballot that didn't sign. It was 86.
Okay, great.
Go ahead.
And then my final comment is, I do agree with the the citizens' comments, I think, from good governance, that there has been substantial improvement in the election process. I do think there needs to be some due diligence given to looking at the absentee ballot by mail process. And I'm thankful, Rick, that you mentioned having someone or a group to come in and do a top to bottom look. I did get a number of voters to contact me saying that they had requested their ballot through the portal, yet they still had not received their ballot. And it was especially concerning for me because there was one woman who's a 70-year-old voter and who did not want to go to a polling location, but yet because she still did not receive her ballot, and I did contact the registration, the elections department, and Chief Jones said he was sending her a ballot out, but she still never received her ballot and had to go to the polls the last day of early voting to cast her ballot. So we definitely have to look at the deficiencies or the gaps there so that every legal voter can receive who requests an absentee ballot by mail receives that in a timely fashion.
All right, thank you, Dr. Ruth. Mr. Johnson had his hand up first. Am I correct about that?
I'm not sure, but I'm ready to go.
Okay, go for it.
First thing I want to do is tell Rick and the entire staff thank you for the work that was done. I think in this, with our volunteers, all the people that came out, the poll workers, just everybody, the Fulton County, Dick Anderson and staff for all the things that they did. One thing that I don't want to happen is for this recount, this hand count, whatever you're going to call it, that we're constantly seeing on news overshadow the hard work that the staff put in during this time period. And I think that's starting to get lost, and I don't want it to. I want to assure all of the people that spoke and all of the people that are listening that the staff, no matter what you may hear, is consistently working to make sure that every vote is counted, every legal vote is counted, however you want to call it, every registered voter that went to vote, that their vote is counted. And under no means are we going to allow people's votes to be thrown out that appropriately voted. And then once this recount, I'm sorry, I'm not using the correct terminology, let the chips fall where they may. We'll see what happens, but we want to give people the assurance, and I don't want people to feel like that our elections process is somehow tainted because a candidate or candidates or certain things that you felt should have happened did not. I do think it's also unfortunate all the hard work that has gone into making sure that November was a good election, the additional polling locations, the larger polling sites, the robust drop boxes, things of that nature. We keep hearing from the Secretary of State that Fulton County will be Fulton County. But I say to that, it seems like the Secretary of State will just be the Secretary of State. Fulton County is working very hard to do all we can to make sure that we do the right thing. And it's a tremendous work, and we're not done yet. We still have December 1st to go through, and we still have January 5th. And I appreciate all our board members that are working hard to make sure, as Dr. Ruth mentioned, the gaps that we have, that we go through and we fix those so we can give blessed assurance to to the voters in Fulton County that we are doing the right thing. So I just wanted to make sure that was said. And again, thank you to the entire Fulton County registration and election staff, Fulton County staff, our voters, everybody who came out, and all the staff that volunteered and worked really hard to make this election not that election. So with that being said, I do want to jump into two quick things. The first one is Senate District 39. I just want to make sure we get clarity on how that's going to work, because as you know, it's been a whole lot of, as Senator Ford mentioned earlier, there's been a whole lot of confusion about this race. I think it's unfortunate confusion. And I think that now we're going to have even more confusion. But I just want to hit a couple of points with you, Rick, just to make sure that we are giving the correct information. but that election is going to be December 1st. When there was a movement for January 5th, they only moved the Public Service Commission. They did not move Senate District 39.
Correct.
Got that. Absentee by mail ballots for seniors that are on the rollover list. I think you mentioned it, but it may have gone out. Will seniors automatically, or anybody that's on a rollover list rather, will they automatically get ballots for Senate District 39, yes or no?
We will be mailing out rollover ballots for disabled, anybody, seniors, and for those 75, or seniors and disabled. And those will go out as soon as we can get the database made final and then get that order. We are working with a vendor right now to do that and get those into the mail as quickly as possible.
Hey,
We don't have it. We don't. Oh, go ahead, Dwight.
Dwight can talk.
Hey, Rick, this is Ralph. Since it's a special election, you know that we don't have rollovers for the special elections.
Right. For CD5, we are not mailing those.
No, for CD 39,
we have to mail the rollovers out. Yes, or CD5, we are not mailing out ballots, but for SD 39, we have to mail out the rollover.
Yeah. Got it backwards, Rick. For CD5, the ones that are happening in January, the ballots will go out as a rollover. The ones in December, since it was a special election, we don't have to do the rollovers for the December one.
Yes, but hold on. What I was saying, so for January, we're only talking about right now December 1st. For Congressional District 5 is a special election. We are not mailing rollovers out for Congressional District 5. But for Senate District 39 on December 1st, we have to mail out rollovers for those.
Correct.
All right, I want to be.
Yes.
That's correct.
They're saying two different things.
Yeah, y'all are saying two different things. So I want to clarify, and I'll repeat.
And let me, Chairperson, interrupt. Item number 7 deals specifically with the runoff election December 1st. We can deal with it now. We can deal with it then. But if we want to have a full discussion of the runoff election for U.S. House District number 5, we got to state that and then deal with it in full.
Oh, I'm not talking about that one yet. I saw that one on there. I only brought up Senate District 39 because he went over it during the operations report. So
let's deal with that.
Just so we can cut back on confusion, Senate District 39, yes or no, will rollovers go out?
Yes.
Okay. Now, and you don't have a specific date because you don't have a vendor, even though we're against the gun on that one. But you're working on a date to get to the campaigns as to when that election, when those ballots will go out, correct?
With getting quotes from vendor. Dwight's been working to get quotes from some of the vendors and get a vendor lined up for the Senate District 39 rollover mailing.
Okay. As far as absentee ballots, when will those go out? Because my understanding, December 1st, absentee ballots have already started going out. I'm assuming Senate District 39 is not currently on that ballot.
No, and the only Congressional District 5 ballots that have been mailed out are ones that where people have actually applied specifically for that, correct?
That is correct.
And so when can people start applying for or requesting or expecting rather for Senate District 39?
After the
we got the database. This is Dwight. We received the database from the Secretary of State yesterday. I'm working on it to verify that everything is accurate, and we hopefully will send them back the thumbs up today. And once it's certified, I think the state has to certify it first. Then we will go ahead and request the ballots.
So the ballots could be another week before they start going out. because
Yes.
the Secretary of State certifies next Friday.
That's correct.
Right.
Okay.
We
So-
will have everything though sitting at the vendor waiting, and once it's certification, we'll give them the thumbs up to go ahead and start printing.
Okay. And just for clarification, voters will have to do you talked about 2 ballots. So voters will, and again, I'm asking this one specifically because there's been so much confusion about it, and it's not a normal race. Every other race, you just show up and they give you the ballot. But this one, if I were in Congressional District 5, early voting on November 23rd, I check in, will I have to ask for a District 39 ballot, or will it be included if I live in 39?
It'll be 2 separate ballots.
I know it's 2 separate ones, but will I have to ask for it? Will I have to specifically say, if I show up if I go to the East Point Library on November 23rd, both ballots are there, and I walk in and I live in Senate District 39 and I live in Congressional District 5. If I go in and I say, I'm Aaron Johnson, I'm here to vote, I give them my license, I'm assuming they're going to automatically give me Congressional District 5. But will they automatically give me Senate District 39, or will I have to specifically ask for it?
You will be, what will tell voters is that there are two elections going on. If they, depending on which, there's going to be 2 separate check-ins, one for Senate District 39, one for CD5. But we'll tell voters if you want to vote in the Senate District 39 Democratic runoff, if they're in the CD5 line, then they have to go to the other line to vote in that Senate District 39 runoff. But voters are going to have to check in twice if they want to vote in both of them. So they're going to have to be given cards for two separate machines.
But they will be told that when they get there.
Yes.
It's not something that if I'm a voter and I show up, if I didn't know to ask, you will instruct staff, because that
Yes.
was an issue during this early voting period where you had people coming in and they were never even told about that particular race.
Correct. Yeah. So what we'll instruct everyone that comes in that there are 2 elections going on, and that to vote in both, they have to check in. After they vote in one, they have to check in and vote in the other.
Okay. All right. We'll have to stay on this. And can you, I would suggest, and I don't know if it needs to be a motion or anything like that, but as you're getting this information about what to do, I think it should be, I know it's not our responsibility and I know it's not incumbent upon us, but I think it's the right thing to do. But to send information to the 2 campaigns, to the parties, just so they understand what's going on, because this is confusing to me and I'm taking notes. So if I'm just a voter going in, it's probably overwhelming, especially with, I think there's going to be a lot of voter fatigue. It's a lot going on. I got to go December 1st and I got to go January 5th. I got 2 races here, 2 races here. I got to stand in this line, then I have to stand in that line. I just think that we have to do all we can to make sure voters understand what's going on. So,
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank
On
you.
election day in those overlapping precincts, voters will also have to vote
In 2 lines.
Two lines. Yes.
What was the last thing you said, Rick?
On election day, in any of the overlapping precincts, there will be 2 check-ins and two sets of machines as well.
As chairperson, I direct the elections chief, Mr. Barron, as to the wishes of the board, and I think that's clear, and I will so direct him. And now Ms. Newridden has waited very patiently. Your questions, ma'am.
Thank you. Ricky, when is the general election set for SD 39?
That's December 1st.
Because you just called it a Democratic runoff. So when would be the general election for that race?
Well, it's my understanding there's no Republican.
We know that. We knew that before.
Yeah. So I believe that this race is it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you called it a Democratic runoff, and I know that's what the Secretary of State's calling it. I still don't believe that it should just been a special election and not a Democratic primary for our general, and that the Secretary of State erred in making that primary election. And so what I'm hearing you say is, although this is called a Democratic runoff, there will be no general election for this race.
What I'm aware of is that this is the last race in this for this seat.
Okay. So, and anyone can go and vote for this Democratic runoff, as you called it, correct?
Yes.
So
yes.
No questions like, do you want to vote in this election that was required in the first?
This one is actually its own separate election, so it's not on a ballot with
Gotcha.
other races.
And thank you so much for that. And I wanted to also add that about the risk limiting audit, we're going to do the presidential for that. Would that be countywide or just?
The risk limiting audit was actually scheduled for Thursday at 9 a.m. and that was canceled.
So it's going to be after the recount.
No, this is it. This what we're doing beginning tomorrow is actually the audit.
Right.
And it's going to be a full hand tally of the entire presidential race.
Great. So, and then I wanted to ask, for the felon list, if there's a voter who's an ex-felon that satisfy all their requirements, where do they go to find them if their name is on this list? Or because I think we have a lot of letters we send out to felons and they rarely respond. So I'm thinking, maybe they're transient and they're just not getting it. So if a voter I'm sorry, I was just wondering, is there a list or number they can call to see if they're on that ex-felon list or have been sent a letter, or because we rarely have people respond to those letters. So I'm just assuming that they move around since the last time, since they, satisfied their felony requirements.
Yes. So Ralph, is there a number that they can call?
I can get that number to you. We actually have a printout that we give anybody who wants to question, have they concluded all their restitutions and stuff. And I can get that for you.
So what I'm hearing you say, Ralph, is that they contact your department and that's how they find out?
No, they can go back to their parole officer or what have you. And if not, I think there's a link to the GBI to see if they have satisfied their restitutions. We just have a printout of what they were told us. The corrections have told us where they could look for.
So the 790 you sent out, if a person believed that their name may be on that list, what I'm hearing you say is that you have no way of letting them know that.
No, when we send them out their letters, we send them out also. If you feel this in error, give us a call. And from that point on, then after that.
Jones, can you find that number in the next half hour and post it in the chat?
That'd be great. Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and for suggesting that. And also, you say you were hiring new staff. Can you tell us just again what's the current number of full-time staff you have?
We have 34 now. So we've been authorized to increase to 38.
And then finally, just for the record, we're saying that, oh, wait a minute. There was a question that someone asked that I thought was really good. The rollover ballots for Senate District 39 are definitely going out. Do you know how many there are?
For that, do you know, Ralph, how many rollover ballots exist in Senate District 39?
I do not. I have not configured that yet, but I can get that number for you all.
Okay, because I know that the challenge is voters saying that they did not receive their ballots in enough time to return them. The drop box helped tremendously. My goal here in just discussing it is to increase awareness about it so voters can just make that decision to drop it in a drop box instead of the mail, because we're 3 weeks out. I think we're less than 3 weeks maybe, but we don't know who's getting them. They haven't been printed, so we know that they probably won't be mailed unless all those things can happen in the next 3 or 4 business days. I'm not sure of your timetable, on top of the recount and the other things that Fulton is required to do. But I just wanted to make sure that there is a plan to just get as many votes counted as possible and to get those ballots out for our voters who just can't make it into the polls.
Once the state certifies, if the state certifies before Friday, then we'll get those rollover ballots out sooner. But once the state certifies, then we can mail out those rollover ballots. So I don't anticipate those are going to go out until a week from today.
Oh, gotcha.
So it's going to be a really tight time frame for those absentee ballots, those rollover ballots, to once they're mailed to get to the voters. I anticipate that a lot of those absentee by mail ballots, the rollovers voters, are going to be late.
And the last question about Senate District 39. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, because that Thanksgiving holiday is in there too. Okay. So it's going to cut down the number of days for mailing.
So we're definitely going to have early vote on the week of the 23rd for Senate District 39.
Yes.
Okay. And the last thing, because I received a lot of calls about Senate District 39 from campaigns as well. And I wanted to ask, as far as who's response, because I didn't know that there was a requirement. The moment I found out, I reached out to the board and to the Secretary of State about the question, having to answer the question for Senate District 39. So our board didn't make the decision to ask the question. I'm just hoping moving forward, whose responsibility was it to inform the campaigns, because that decision didn't come from our board to require that question. And I'm just trying to get, because I know Senator Ford asked about, the lack of notification. Some campaigns found out, he felt right away. And since we weren't actually part of that decision to require the question, I just wanted to, I hope maybe you know and maybe you don't know, Rick, but was that the Secretary of State or the Democratic Party of Georgia to require the question?
I don't know who between them, who it would have been required of between those two.
Okay, thanks.
All right, those are all your questions. We have had a wide-ranging discussion. I'm looking at item number 4 in our October monthly operations report. And then I think we kind of segued into an overview of November 3rd, even December 1st, even January 5th. I can be pulled back into any of those because we did not formally conclude those, as well as a discussion, which we have touched on, of the recount. Are members of the board satisfied that we have looked over items 4 and 5? And hearing or seeing no objections, I'm going to assume that we have and conclude items number 4 and 5. Can we now look into certification of results for the general and special elections? Got to do it. Might as well do it now. This is really by far the most complicated set of certifications that I have ever had to preside over. And I'm going to ask for both your cooperation and your patience, and for the cooperation and patience of Ms. Bodison, who has gone over these with me 3 times already this morning. You will be asked to sign 10 different certifications. I have placed little sticky note notations on several of these, which may not be very apparent. I have in front of me, almost by accident, the 359 pages of the official and complete election results. And I will ask Mr. Barron for his certification that these are correct amounts as we get into the specific results of each. But the first one that I'm going to ask him about is labeled general elections. This is the presidential election and all statewide elections. All right, that is what is in front of us.
Yeah, it's not, statewide, countywide. This is the general election for president down through even the county elections.
Okay. Has everybody got that clear? That is the one that is least apparent on the face of it. But this is the one that's presidential and Senate and statewide, countywide. All right, have you got that? And having said that, Mr. Barron, I am holding the official and complete account of votes cast, and ask if you certify and attest that this attached election summary is a true and correct count of the votes cast in the county for the candidates in this general election.
Yes, it is.
All right. Now, I am going, because of the importance of these and in cooperation with Ms. Bodison, I am going to take votes in alphabetical order. And as it happens, mine comes first, and say I have to have a motion to certify. Will someone do that for me?
So moved, Madam Chair.
And a second. Ms. Newriddin?
Second.
All right, it's properly been moved and seconded that this board certify these elections. My name comes first, and I say aye. Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Newriddin?
Aye.
Dr. Ruth?
No, there is a lawsuit pending that has about 3,600 of 14,000 plus challenge voters that voted in during early voting. So, no.
Yeah. And you will simply not sign this form, is
correct, just for the
Mr. Wingate.
Madam Chair, before I actually give you my cast vote, let me take just a couple of minutes and give you some justification behind my decision. First of all, we do have, as we all recognize, a hand recount going on of this election, that it'll be sometime, I guess, by Wednesday at midnight before we know the results of this. I was sent in conjunction with, around 9 o'clock this morning, I was sent in conjunction with a pending lawsuit of so-called over 14,000 voters that are being challenged on the voter registration list. The information I received, and again, I'm only reporting what was given to me, but there was at that time, around 9 o'clock this morning, whoever it is that was looking at this has already found 4,000 voters that cast a vote in this election that are on that list. and I don't know where it'll end up, and I don't know where all of this is going, but I do find myself as a voter in Fulton County, I find that concerning. The other thing is that, through this process and, to all the hard work that Rick and Ralph and Dwight and everybody has done, it is a confoundingly hard process, but it's indisputable that, from election night, we had a little bit of an observer issue and a lack of around an hour and a half between processes that were still going on at State Farm and having observers. From election night, we were still finding flashcards, we were still finding missing provisional ballots, and we were still finding unscanned ballots that happened to be found in a couple of precincts, one East Point, one in Alpharetta. My point to that is that we did our the final reporting of this and upload at last night at 8:17 p.m. Just for the record. The last thing I want to mention here is, because I think everything else got covered, but back in, you don't have to look at this now, but back in the minutes of our board meeting of October the 8th, it was reported that day that we had a technician from Blue Crest that was in assisting our staff so that they can enable and get the electronic signature verification component of the Blue Crest platform enabled. I think we all just left there, and I know I can talk only for myself, but I was never given any other updates. In my question, to the department, subsequent to that, is that I asked how that was going, and I, finally got an answer. Well, it was never used. We couldn't get it to work, as I was stated, first of all, with Runbeck. And then because they couldn't get it to there, they gave up on the process and didn't do it. So I think, and I'm probably off a few, but of the 147,000 absentee paper ballots that were processed in, I just think, for the record, it just needs to be known that all of those were derived by a manual process. There was no electronically verified signature verification that went on with those. So with those reasons, and there's others that I would not spend this, time on, I have to cast a no vote to certify this election.
Thank you, Mr. Wingate. And just for logistical direction, when this comes to you for signature, you will simply not sign the form. But as chair, I am holding that this election, these results for the general elections are hereby certified. All right, now we get to number 2, which is write-in candidates for President, U.S. Senate, and U.S. House of Representatives, District 13, of which there are a total of 3. And once again, referring to our official and complete voter count in my hand, Mr. Barron, is it your certification and testimony that the election summary I'm holding is a true and correct count of all votes cast in this county for write-in candidates, and those constitute all votes cast for qualified write-in candidates on the BMD and absentee provisional ballots? You have to unmute.
Yes, it is.
All right. Having heard that, is there a motion on the board to certify?
So moved, Madam Chair.
And second, Ms. Newridden, thank you. Once again, I'm going to go through this alphabetically, starting with myself, Mary Carol Cooney, yay. Mr. Johnson?
Yay.
Ms. Newridden?
Yay.
Ms. Ruth?
No.
Mr. Wingate?
No.
Thank you. And we go to the special election for the unexpired term of Johnny Isaacson, United States Senate, referring once again to the official and complete summary of votes in my hand. Yes, and I'm on the right page. Mr. Barron, is it your certification and testimony that this election summary is a true and correct count of the votes cast in this county for the candidates in that special election?
Yes, it is.
I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
And I will now take those votes, starting with myself, Mary Carol Cooney, aye. Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Newridan?
Aye.
Dr. Ruth?
Don't hear.
You have to unmute. Dr. Ruth, are you frozen or do you have to, she looks sort of frozen.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, she just.
Saw her eyes blinking.
Yeah.
You messed up. Well, had trouble.
Okay, at the risk of messing this all, well, she has to unmute for the next one. So Dr. Ruth, can you hear me? And we do not see a hand signal or a chat signal.
I don't know what.
All right, Dr. Ruth, do we have, can you unmute at this point? While we are waiting for Dr. Ruth, I see that the telephone number for felon status has come up on the chat board for the convenience of those listening. But Dr. Ruth, I knew I was going to get messed up. I didn't know it would be in this way.
She's no longer, I mean, she's, her video's off now.
Yeah.
Right.
She's probably trying to reconnect.
Reconnect. Yeah, I have found that I have had to do that.
He-ism.
And I think we are going to have to simply pause because we can't get through any of the others until we have her vote recorded.
Do you want to record my?
Oh, there she is.
Sorry,
Okay.
I was having some issues with my internet. Sorry about that.
That happens to us all. You have been voting on the unexpired term of Johnny Isaacson?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And so you will just logistically directed to sign that form. All right, then we have, oops.
Madam Chair, do you
Yeah,
want
but
to?
Mr. Wingate.
Yes, yes.
Yes, as to that as well. Okay. That takes, so as chairperson, I hold that that election has been certified. The next election is for the Democratic primary. And referring once again to the stack of summary of official and complete votes cast, Mr. Barron, is it your certification and testimony that the attached election summary is a true and correct count of the votes cast in this county for the candidates in the special Democratic primary? And you have to unmute.
Yes, it is.
All right. I will take a motion to certify.
So moved.
Second.
And it properly seconded. All those in favor, starting with Cooney, yay. Next, Mr. Johnson.
Yay.
Ms. Newridan.
Yay.
Dr. Ruth.
Yay.
Mr. Wingate.
Yes.
All right, now we get to what is, from my viewpoint, relatively easy, and you should have in front of you, or as part of your packets, the proposed constitutional amendments and statewide referendum questions. And this is only I'm turning to House Resolution 164 by way simply of orienting you. It is a very summary description. It authorizes the dedication of fees and taxes to their intended purpose by general state law. Mr. Barron, referring to the summary in my hand, is it your testimony and certification that this is a true and correct count of the votes cast for this referendum question?
Yes, it is.
All right, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second? Properly moved and seconded by Ms. Newridan. All in favor, Ms. Cooney, aye. Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Newridan?
Aye.
Dr. Ruth?
Aye.
Mr. Wingate?
Aye.
As chairperson, I hold that this question has been certified by our board. The next issue is Local Act 1023, and by way of very simple summary, this is the one that waives state and local sovereign immunity for violation of state laws, state and federal constitutions. Mr. Barron, referring once again to the official and complete summary of votes cast in this county, is it your testimony and certification that this consists of a true and correct count of votes cast on this issue?
Yes, it is.
All right, I have a motion
So moved.
and a second by Ms. Newridan. All in favor, Ms. Cooney, aye. Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Newridan?
Aye.
Dr. Ruth?
Aye.
And Mr. Wingate?
Aye.
All right, that is so, as chair, I hold that this is so certified. That brings us to proposed constitutional amendments. No, we've got that. We just did that. Then we have a statewide referendum, which is Act number 149. Let me see if I have that appropriately in front of me. Ms. Bodison, I don't see my description in front of me. Do you have that?
Yes, Madam Chair, it should be in the back of the packet. Should be right after the proposal.
Let's see, I have 344. This is...
That's it, ma'am.
That's it, statewide referendum. And by way of very summary description, it provides tax exemption for certain single family homes owned by tax exempt charities. Do I have that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So, all right. Mr. Barron, referring once again to the summary, official and complete summary of votes cast, is it your testimony and certification that this is a true and correct count of votes cast on this issue?
Yes, it is.
Do I have a motion from the board to
moved.
certify?
Second.
I've got a second. Did I have a motion? I didn't hear that.
Yes, so moved.
So moved.
Sorry.
All right. All in favor? Cooney, aye. Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Newridan? Aye. Is that an aye?
Yes, aye.
Dr. Ruth?
Aye.
Mr. Wingate?
Aye.
We are actually getting through these. All right. Next, we come to the referendum for the City of Union City for a homestead exemption is the summary description. Mr. Barron, is it your certification and testimony that the complete count and official count of votes cast are the correct, include the correct and true count on this referendum question?
Yes, it is.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Nurian seconds. All in favor, Cooney, aye. Johnson,
Aye.
Nurian,
Aye.
Ruth,
Aye.
Wingate. Mr. Wingate, was that an aye?
Aye, yes.
Thank you. All right, as chairperson, I hold that that has been certified. Finally, no, not finally, we have a referendum for the city of East Point whether to allow Sunday alcohol sales beginning at 11 a.m. Mr. Barron, is it your certification and testimony that the official and complete count of votes cast in my hand is a true and correct count of votes cast for this referendum question?
Yes, it is.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And do I have a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that this be certified. All in favor, Cooney, aye. Johnson,
Aye.
Nuridan,
Aye.
Ruth,
Aye.
Wingate.
Yes.
As chairperson, I hold that these are certified, and that brings us to the last one, which is a homestead exemption for the city of Atlanta. Mr. Barron, referring to the official and complete number of votes, is it your certification and testimony that this consists of a true and complete count or includes a true and complete count of votes cast in on this referendum question?
Yes, it is.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second? That's Dr. Ruth. All in favor, Cooney, aye. Johnson,
Aye.
Nuridan,
Aye.
Ruth,
Aye.
and Wingate.
Aye.
All right. We have actually done that. Thank you. That was way more efficient than I thought. If I can just get these into the envelope for distribution for you in order presented, then we will be able to meet our statutory deadline today. That brings us to item number 7, which is updated preparations for the runoff election December 1st. Do we have anything further that we need to discuss for that?
No, I do have a question for Cheryl Ringer. I don't know, Cheryl? I did notice the Senate District 39, now that I'm looking at it or thinking about it, is actually a special election. Therefore, we wouldn't be mailing rollover ballots out for that. That's correct, right? Because we aren't doing it for CD5, which is a special.
I think that's what Ralph was trying to get over a little while ago. That it's considered a special election as well.
Yeah, so that's as I saw the title, I realized that is a special election.
So everything that we've discussed about that is correct, except for absentee ballots will not automatically be sent as rollovers.
Right.
But all the other things we talked about for that race will still stay the same.
But Ralph, can somebody even apply for SD 39 yet on the portal? Okay, Ralph says no. So the only way somebody can apply for an absentee by mail ballot for SD 39 would be, Ralph, can they do it through our portal, through the county portal? Yeah, he says yes.
I can do, yeah.
Okay.
All right, that answered Ms. Nuridan.
I do want to add that although we may not be required to do it, it's no reason not to. But
the only reason I'm thinking that it would be.
The state said in the last statewide conference that they definitely weren't going to do it. and that it was up to the counties. And I like the fact that we employ the law in our decision making, but we don't have to use it to limit the service we provide for voters in Fulton County. But I did want to just add that because right now, Ralph said that they have been, that voters are able to request the absentee ballot for Senate District 49. Can he tell us how many have been requested?
Ralph, do you know if any have been requested for Senate District 39 yet? No, he has no information. We've received a few for Congressional District 5.
Right. So also,
but right now, the only way somebody can do it is to fill out a paper application. 39, because it's unavailable on the SOS portal. My concern with mailing out ballots for SD 39 is that if most of them are going to arrive after Election Day, I think, with the amount of time, because we can't mail them. We can't mail them until next Friday. And with Thanksgiving week, I think it's going to be really difficult for anyone to get one in the mail, because I believe, and if Dwight can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the only vendor that we can find to do that mailing is Runbeck in Arizona, correct? Dwight?
I found a local vendor, Tatnall, down in Reedsville, Georgia.
Oh, they're able to do it?
Yes, so that's the option we want to go once this thing is certified.
I guess, well, then I guess it would be after the state is certified. Okay, so if we do it, to be consistent, I would say we didn't do it for CD5, but if we do it for SD39, then I think the voters for SD39, we're going to have an inconsistency there.
I see. Thank you so much. I know it's a lot going on with the county, so I don't want to act as if you guys are not busting at the seams with obligations and responsibilities. I did want to share that on election night when we had our meeting, Rick, and you were in court, and also again today, I noticed today, I hope that we can be just more prepared for our meetings on election night. We didn't, the folks you had representing you did not have any information to add or share, or didn't, like, for instance, I would think that Mr. Jones is able to tell me right away if I'm an ex-felon living in Fulton and I'm not sure if my name is on one of the 790, that it would be easily accessible for him right there, because I know, or whoever's responsible for that in the department, and information about how many people have requested ballots for CD5 and SD39, just shouldn't be, I don't know. We have to prepare for our monthly meetings and our certification meetings. And I think that it just seemed on election night, the staff wasn't prepared to fill in for you. And I know that election night meeting is not required by law. We actually just do that meeting, and I'm okay with that. But just today, as far as the questions around the absentee ballot process, specifically with SD 39, we've given out information that we were sending out absentee ballots, and no, we're not sending out absentee ballots. And I'm just hoping that moving forward, we can just get better prepared for these meetings. So you and your staff are saying the same thing, and that we're not unintentionally confusing the electorate.
Yes, I agree.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Ms. Ringer wishes to be heard.
Just one thing that Ms. Norton's comments made me remember. I want the board to consider if we could move our meetings on election day until after 7. As David Lohman and I discussed, if we do have issues causing us to run to court before the polls close, we will need the director and maybe some of his staff, and that will conflict with your meetings. So that's just something to think about in the future.
I think that's good.
As someone who is a lawyer in her spare time, I would also say sometimes you don't know when you're going to get pulled into court and have sufficient time to brief your staff when you are expecting to be the one to do the briefing. But having said that, that is certainly something we will take under advisement. And now, Dr. Ruth.
Yes, just a comment for the Senate House seat 39 and congressional seat 5. Is there a way, I would recommend that Jessica develop some kind of communication that can be sent to voters or readily available to voters for that district so that they can know what to expect. I would imagine it would be very confusing coming in knowing that I have to go into 2 separate directions to vote. So I think it's important if we can get some type of communication out.
Yes. And
Is Jessica on? Because we've had these discussions. She also has concerns about getting the mail out in time, but she is developing some sort of plan as far as signage, maybe things on a press release, and seeing what we can do with respect to possibly HOAs. But she has concerns about the mail getting out timely.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Regina Waller working with Jessica Corbett. Yes, she is in the process of getting those communications needs for the board as well as for the voters.
Okay. If we are completed with item number 7, may I point out to the board, we are close to our challenge time, not very much exceeding our challenge time for this meeting today, which was necessary because of our own deadlines. The final numbered matter on our agenda is approval of emergency polling location change. Mr. Barron.
Dwight's handling this one.
Mr.
Yes,
Brower.
Madam Chair, members of the board, we have one proposed polling change. It involves precinct 08H, which is currently located at Covenant Presbyterian Church at 2461 Peachtree Road. This particular facility has decided to reopen its daycare facility or to open its daycare facility. And because of the potential for voters to be operating in that vicinity of the daycare, they are asking that they no longer be a polling place. So we are proposing to move that polling place to Sutton Middle School, which is about 1.3 miles from the current location. And Sutton Middle School is located at 2875 Northside Drive. There's about 2,800 voters impacted. Both of those, this polling place does contain voters for Congressional District 5, as well as Senate District 39.
All right, questions from the board, Mr. Johnson.
Dwight, it seems like you knew exactly what I was going to ask. That was going to be my first question. My second question is, we seem to have had a lot of problems getting notification to voters when they had precinct changes. And considering this one is going to be for the December 1st election, I would hope that the staff would, the department would do everything to make sure that this, once we approve this today, that, you know, notification gets to these voters ASAP.
Yes, that's the plan, to, once you approve it, to notify each voter as is required immediately.
Well, we'll be under it because I think it's normally 30 days, but I just, you know, want to implore us to do it soon, very
immediate,
if not today.
Dwight, how many voters does that affect?
It's 2,532 voters impacted. 2,532 voters impacted.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Could we utilize some type of text messaging?
I didn't hear you, Dr. Ruth. I'm sorry.
Do we utilize any text messaging of notification to get to voters?
No, it's all by mail.
Yeah, we have to rethink that because as we are seeing, mail is very slow and is not timely if we want to get important information out to people.
And we might want to consider using Jessica's, the communications department's ability to reach out to the MPU in that area. The MPUs can get it out. Obviously, we still want to do our responsibility, but try to go above and beyond this time because of the short time frame.
We'll do. We'll get with Ms. Forth and see if we can.
Mr. Barrow, you still have to notice these in the public legal organ. Was that done?
Yes, I think the notice is on the back of this document.
Yeah, I was looking for that. I was looking for the map. As long as it's on a public transportation line, I'm okay with it. Right now, I can't pull up the map of the new pole, but do you know if it has clear access to public transportation?
That I cannot confirm, Ms. Nuruddin.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, are those, Mr. Wingate?
Very quickly, Dwight, is there a map that exists that in essence states or has a little star or something where our polling precincts are?
You mean a hard map or
yeah, or an electronic map, something that would give, just show where all of the 255 or so precincts are at around the county?
Yeah, we can definitely have one generated. We kind of use map view and out in the GIS system.
Yeah.
But it doesn't give you you're looking for something that reflects the composites of all precincts, correct?
Yeah, right. If we had 255, I mean, is there that mechanism through the GIS piece of it to basically provide an electronic map that dots where our precincts are at around the county in total?
Yes, I definitely can get our GIS to do that.
Nothing urgent, but I just think that'd be a good thing to have.
All right.
And lastly, Mariska, in the documents you sent, are the poll changes is in the monthly report, correct?
No, it wouldn't be in the monthly report.
Did you send it to us or no?
This particular poll change?
Yes.
It should be at the end of the packet.
Okay, and that's in the.
The last 2 or 3 pages is the map, the proposal, and the advertisement.
Oh, sure. I don't. No worries. I don't see the map, but it's just for some reason it's just not popping up. So I just get the November 2020 election summary and statement of votes, and then the monthly report. So y'all usually pretty good about sending that map of where the poll was and where it is now. But
Oh, I got it.
You see it? Okay.
Yeah.
It was in the email from last night.
No, ma'am, it was from earlier in the day.
Okay, I got you. Thank you. That's it for me.
And Ms. Nurden, this polling location is on a bus line.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And that's it for me, everyone.
Okay, are those all the questions for the approval of that polling place change? And hearing no further questions, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
And properly seconded by Dr. Ruth. I might as well, since we're all so well trained in doing this alphabetically, all in favor say aye. Cooney, aye. Johnson?
Aye.
Nuruddin?
Aye.
Ruth?
Aye.
Wingate?
Aye.
How well trained we are. Does any member of the board wish to go into executive session for personnel or litigation matters? And hearing none, let me just make 2 announcements. One, I'm waiting. I actually overstepped my time. Mr. Johnson thanked the staff. I thank the staff from the bottom of my heart. I think that they did us proud. And then let me remind members of the board who need to sign these that you have promised to be in a place certain at a time certain. And as those times change slightly, I will try to get hold of you by telephone to tell you when to expect to sign these various certifications, and we will meet our deadline. And having said that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn, or second.
Okay, Wingate and Johnson. All in favor, say aye and just raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. That's a unanimous vote. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.